Welcome back to another episode of Black Queer Unapologetic. I'm JoJo, and today we're going to be talking about sexual positivity and sexual chemistry. Have you ever mistaken sexual chemistry for something deeper, or maybe you found yourself vibing with someone, maybe at a pride event, a queer space, or any other event, and it was something that you were not expecting? I 100% have many times. In today's episode, I am joined by one of my friends that I've met in one of these spaces, and we're going to talk about how recognizing sexual chemistry is important, how to see it when it's happening, navigating consent, trusting your gut, and embracing sex positivity without losing yourself in the process, because I think people get that twisted. It's honest, it's raw, and honestly, it's a little hilarious, but it is real life, so we got to talk about it. So let's get into it.
Hey, black, queer, unapologetic. Black, queer, unapologetic. I know who I am, now you know what I'm about. I say the thoughts in my head out loud. Let's get into it, let's pick up the flow though. Brought to you by the one they call JoJo. Black, queer, unapologetic. Black, queer, unapologetic. Let's go.
Hey, Stephan.
Hey Joe, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
So tired. This fucking Monday. So close to the summer. Everything. Cool. Whoever's listening, I'm a school counselor, so like I've been done with this school year.
You're almost there. Well, I wanted to chat with you about this particular topic. I feel like we live in a world where there are a lot of people who mistake sexual attraction for a lot of other things, or they don't even know what they're attracted to, which is like, what do you actually like? And yeah, I thought it'd be helpful to have this conversation, especially with you, because of how we met.
It was Folsom, right? 2023.
It was Folsom. Yeah.
I do remember it was the night before the fair, because by the end of our time together, I had sucked the life out of you.
You did. I was dead. My friends came over to the hotel the next day because we were all gonna get ready to go to the fair and walk over.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so dazed. This was the next morning. It was a late night, maybe a good 8 hours later. I'm walking around the room, moving one thing, and I'm like, wait, I gotta get this. Or I keep going back to it. My brother's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. I'm not okay. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be getting dressed, getting ready. I just couldn't get my shit together. It was ridiculous.
Oh my God. And meanwhile, I was on the other side of the city living my best life. Like, today's Folsom. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to go meet my friends. And then just frolicking through the streets of San Francisco looking for contributions.
Yeah, I had to make my deposits.
You got to give it back to the educators.
Right. So, for context, we met at a party down Folsom Weekend. For people who don't know what Folsom Weekend is in San Francisco, it is a fetish street fair. So there's like a lot of kink things going on, leather. It is outside. It's a very sex positive event. At this particular party, I run into Stephan, and somehow, I don't know how, I just like the vibes. We immediately hit it off. You didn't come off thirsty or pushy, but still interested. I'm interested, and I'm not going to be shy about the fact that I'm interested. And I'm not going to like play a game of like cat and mouse with you, but this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate that. I think that that's a healthy thing, because, you know, there's people who come off super thirsty and I'm just like, it's not really hot. You seem like a normal horny person versus like somebody who was chasing dick because they felt like they were entitled to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's definitely folks out there who want the tally mark. They want the number of experiences. They don't care like the quality and stuff. And I'm glad that you thought I wasn't desperate, because I thought I came off as desperate. I was like, oh my God, this man is so nice to even like look in my direction and give me like a smile or a nod and to say it's okay to come over. I was with friends that night, but I was at the time flying solo, and it was one of my first parties where I did something like that.
Yeah.
And this was right after a breakup several months ago. So it was interesting for me to be in there. But we connected, and it was a great first time.
Yeah, and second and third time. I'm curious because you said this is the first time you did that. So are you normally not the person who approaches another person?
I'm gonna be completely transparent here. I have a lot of social anxiety.
Okay.
I'm undiagnosed, but I'm 99% sure that I'm autistic as well. And everything, just signs are signing. The symptoms are there,
Yeah.
kind of deal. And so it always felt like I knew how to go through the emotions, but there was always a piece missing. That person was really interested to what? I did not get that at all. Or like the person gives me one look and I assume they're interested. Then I start pursuing them and they're like, no, that's not what I was giving off at all.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had done it before, but it was one of my first times doing it after the breakup. And
Okay.
so before we would tag team together or go off on our own, I knew there was a safety net whenever we were out together.
Mm-hmm.
Just like at the very least, there's one person can go back to
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
And this was me. And when we met that Folsom night, that was just me with a bunch of friends. And by that point, we had all like scattered, gone on our own separate adventures. So I was like, cool. Let's see how I survive out here.
Yeah. Okay. So the funny thing about that night, because I think I hadn't been to one of those parties in a long time, I actually was having issues that night as far as overstimulation.
Mm.
And I had just gotten over that right before I ran into you. I don't know what was going on with me that night, but it was super loud, super hot, and super crowded. I just was trying to get over it. I was like, okay, I don't need any alcohol. I went and got a Red Bull. I went outside, got some air. I was like, okay, all right, I got my shit together. I think I was standing against the wall when you came around the corner.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that. Or you were maybe sitting at the bench or something
Oh,
like
you
that.
know what? Yeah, no, is it where that big ass fan was or something in the corner?
Yes. It was at the very end of that hallway, past the slings. Part of my autistic thing, I also get overstimulated, which is why I wear earplugs when I go to those places. But
Yeah.
it's hot, it's humid, it's cramped. It's like, as an introvert, this does not speak to me as like appealing on most levels.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand that. And I'm so grateful that we were syncing up at the perfect point.
I could have went another way. I could have been like, fuck this, I'm out, and just like left, you know?
Mhm.
I stuck it out, and I don't know what was going on with me that day, but it was a little bit weird. And then when you came up to me, and I was like, okay, I'm vibing with him. And then like you can't really see people in those parties, like unless you're pretty close, because it's kind of dark. When you got closer, I was like, oh, it's cute. Yeah. And I don't know, like it just like there was a vibe, and the people I saw before or even afterwards, I wasn't like vibing with. It was one of those like either a thirsty situation or like a very pushy situation, like trying to force the situation to happen versus finessing a situation.
Yeah.
As a top, I don't appreciate that. I guess there's people that like to be donned and stuff like that, whatever. But the initial meeting of these situations, when you realize that you could potentially have sexual chemistry with a person, it shouldn't be so pushy initially. At least for me, that's how I feel about it. I don't want somebody to throw themselves at me and then feel entitled to my dick. It doesn't make me want to have sex with them.
Yeah, totally. It gives me an understanding of like, oh, this is what you want from the interaction. So just a purely sexual, almost like a transactional moment, which is fine. But for me, I'm always seeking out those that I can connect with outside of all this. Like showing that we can have a good time outside the club, like hanging out, video games, whatever. Sometimes I feel like sex is a little bit like alcohol, where it's a very vulnerable act. You get to see a part of a person that they don't show very often.
Yeah.
So when people go about parties and events like acting like that, that kind of tells me a little bit about like, oh, this is how you navigate through life. A little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I could get that. Because now I'm thinking about people that I know and the way that they engage and stuff like that, how I know them as people.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of crossover. And sometimes like it's fine depending on who you're engaging with, but other times it's like, I don't know why you're acting like that.
And granted, not every person is right for everybody at the party too, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a sex party, there's a whole crowd of gay guys down there and stuff like that. And as long as you connect with somebody, honestly.
I feel like this is going to sound super weird, like me asking you this question. But what were you looking for at that particular party? Like, I feel like people have types, people that they like, and then they have like maybe like a broad type of situation of like, oh, okay, like I'm into all these different types of people. and maybe not these other different types of people.
Yeah.
So because I was approached in this situation, I'm curious, like, what were you potentially looking for, and what in your head flipped the switch to be like, I'm gonna try to approach this person?
If I remember correctly, you were actually my first person that night, and there were others. Warning, listeners, I am a total slut, and I will own up to that. uh,
I mean, it's a sex party. Like, what are you gonna do?
I mean, I don't know. Okay, here's the thing. I've asked my friends this question because I run in a lot of different circles and am friends with a lot of different folks. Buddy's pretty consistent, and they're like, you just find whatever is hot to you in the moment. Like, there isn't like a body type. There isn't like he needs to be like 6 foot tall or like 5 foot or something like that. Or like there's no racial component. There's no like even like sexual positions and stuff. Like, it just kind of, whatever happens, happens. I'm kind of just there to enjoy myself and to have a great connection with this person or persons.
Yeah.
It's often the case. But I don't really have anything that, like, for me, automatic checkbox or like automatically like, oh, my pussy is wet or whatever. Like, I mean, there is like the conventional like beauty standards and stuff. Like, that's great and everything. But I don't know. It just, for me, it's a little bit like, are you willing to reciprocate what I'm putting out there?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like the other checkboxes like, does this person seem safe? Does this person seem okay? And stuff. It's like all, and then there's, as soon as a connection is established, I go down to the safety procedures.
What's on the safety list?
Are they slurring their words? Can they stand straight? Do I know this person? Does this person have like reputation or whatever? What else? Do they got a needle sticking out of them?
Oh,
Like,
I mean, it's San Francisco.
you gotta check. It's kind of ridiculous, but that is the state of San Francisco.
Yeah, I want to say there were others for me, but I'm a type of person where I like what works. The other people that I had hooked up with were all before you, so there was nobody after you.
Oh,
You were like, once it was you, like that was pretty much. Then I mean, we'll get to that, but the people that I had hooked up with were before you, and it was like when I had first gotten there, and then I had my little situation where I was overstimulated and I needed to separate myself, and then I hooked up with you, and then it was one of those situations where I was looking around, but then it was just like, okay, no, like this isn't gonna work. Or the vibes were just off, like they were being too pushy. There was like a position mismatch or whatever, stuff like that. And then you came back.
the prodigal son returns.
We're always like, oh, okay, like why not? I mean, first time was great. Why not do it again?
I remember us talking afterwards. Like, you were surprised I came back and was wanting for round two.
Yeah, because people don't come back at those parties. You either have your session and it's like a good, decent time session or whatever, and you either separate from them and then you don't see them again the rest of the night, or I feel like people get attached and they just fuck around the whole night.
That is true. I have definitely seen couples pairing off as rave bays or something like that and be like, okay, that's your boyfriend for tonight. That's great. Enjoy, I guess.
I don't know if it's that good. Go for it.
Yeah. And I think part of it too is like, it's just hard to find people again. Everybody's on their own agendas. Everybody's on their own timetables.
I feel like when you came back the second time, it was better than the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was better than the first time. So this is the thing. When I hooked up with those other guys before, I didn't finish. So like I didn't come at all. And I had maybe jacked off like twice earlier in the day. The only time that I actually came was when I was hooking up with you. The first time. And then the other times after that, that it was like you and I were hooking up. And I don't know. That's part of the problem too. If I'm hooking up with somebody and I know that there's no way in hell, like even if I wanted to, I'm going to be able to finish, this has got to end sometime. I can't keep rowing and it's like mediocre hole or something. I don't know. I need, am grateful that I have an ability to be able to go multiple times, but it's just like, if I can't even finish once, then should I continue to hook up with that person or should I just move on?
So you're just saying my pussy is bomb.
It was great. I'm not complaining or questioning or any of that. Like, for anybody out there, it was great. But you are someone who is of a certain caliber of bottom that can take enough and like still be okay. There's people that they complain, they need a position switch, they need this, they need that. And I feel like you are someone who is talented enough and confident enough in your own skills that you can handle it.
Thank you. Can I get a report card or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude,
I like getting a love for you or so. Like, God damn, okay, Joe, you really much out here.
if you need a refill, I got you.
I mean, okay, it's always so nice to hear from tops and everything because I'm always so self-conscious about like, oh my gosh, am I gonna be clean? Is this gonna be okay? And to know that like listeners, this has been like 2 or 3 years since we last seen each other. And wow, you still think that way.
I have a pretty good memory, and I remember most of the people that I've had sex with, like what it felt like in that moment. If there's anybody listening to this that I have hooked up with, I probably remember exactly what happened and what it felt like. If it was trash, I remember that it was trash. And if it was great, I remember that it was great. I'm very aware of my body and using my body for certain things. I don't know where that comes from, but if it's a physical thing, I will always remember it. And doesn't have to just even necessarily be sex. Like if it's a sport or whatever, I think I'm just wired that way. And yeah, I just remember we hooked up the first time and we came back the second time. And then the second time lasted a lot longer.
I was literally holding on for dear life.
Well, I was trying not to let you go because I was like, okay, this is the best that I've had this night. And I'm probably not going to find anything else because all the other shows have been trash. And no offense to those other bottoms. I'm pretty sure they were getting ran through. And, but I was like, it's been a minute and I haven't been able to finish. And the only time I was able to finish was with you. So I'm like, well, I want to go again. I need to hold on to him as long as I can because I know he's going to float away.
I'm just reliving that night mentally and oh God. Joe, you gotta give yourself credit. I feel like I only respond really well with tops who are so fantastic, who know how to listen to the bottom's body, who know how to read the cues, but also like is able to deliver what we're asking kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
You're very skilled top, Joe.
Thank you. I don't want to, when I'm in the act of doing that, I don't want to hurt anybody because once you do that, it's pretty much over. It's done. It doesn't matter what the attraction is, what the chemistry is or whatever. If you cut somebody in pain or whatever it is, you can literally end that hookup right then and there because you are not paying attention to what they're feeling. That doesn't even just apply to gay sex. I feel like anybody that's having sex with anybody, like read the room. I've met guys who have bigger dicks than I do, and they think having a big dick is like a personality. Yeah, they think they have a certain size or whatever, and you're just going to take it and whatever. And I'm just like, dude, you also have to be aware of the fact that everybody's not built the same way. And you also have to be aware of the fact that you have a certain amount of size of like girth or length or whatever it is. And you're going to do that to somebody just because one person took it well doesn't mean every single person is built like that to take it. They might need more time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you might need to have some patience or whatever it is. And some dudes are just weird like that. And I feel like it's the ones with the biggest dicks.
It is reminding me of this time I hooked up with somebody in Portland years ago. I was new to the scene and everything. And this guy was like, we met up at the bar and He was like flirting with me and he was attractive. We got a little kissy aggressive and he said something like, I'm gonna fuck you till you bleed. And I was drunk enough to kind of laugh it off and whatever kind of deal. I love rough sex and stuff like that. Then I went back to his place. I actually did bleed a little bit and he was proud of it. He was like, that was a tally mark or something for him. But I'm like, I don't think I'm ever gonna see you again.
That'll just kill the whole vibe.
Right? Oh, this is more than just a fantasy for you. Like, oh, this is a badge of honor or something.
Yeah.
And like, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's cool. At the end of the day, recognizing sexual chemistry and then also knowing when it's over.
Yes.
It's just like, okay, I am immediately attracted to this person, or maybe it built up and I'm attracted to this person, but they do something to say something and it kills the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, then you make a choice whether, like, how are you going to exit the situation?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm doing that and having that type of behavior. It's like, this isn't somebody that I would want to have sex with again.
Yeah. Yeah. At least they make themselves known to you real fast. That's true.
Yeah. Some try to hide it, and then it gets to a point when they like, I love this quote. It's like, what's it called? You see who people really are when things don't go the way they want them to.
Yes. Well, that's so true. And that's not just with sex, that's in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. When people get in the way, you can see, okay, are they humble?
Mm-hmm.
Are they aggressive? Are they pushy? Are they an asshole? Are they conceited? What's the deal?
Do they immediately step into passive aggressiveness? Do they get into poutiness? How does their body language look? Do they storm out of the room or do they sulk in the corner? There's so many ways to go about, and you learn so much about a person this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Well,
back to the sex.
Yeah. So we hooked up, I want to say 3 times in the club or at the party.
Yes. Yes.
And then we left.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I came all 3 of those times. And then we left, or I left. I didn't see you again, and I was kind of done with it. And then I was like, I'm just going to go home. And I was a little fucked up, and I walked the wrong way.
You walked the wrong way?
I walked the wrong way. I left the venue, and you come out, and then you go left to Market Street.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I went up to Market Street. I was supposed to go left on Market Street, but I went right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got distracted by something that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
That I go right, and then I get like half a block up, and I'm like, wait, I'm going the wrong way. I lived in San Francisco for 7 years, and I'm still walking the wrong direction. So I turn around, and I was like, okay, I have to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I run into you again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
On the street.
In my short shorts and like whatever sweatshirt I got going on, just summoning my Portland blood so I can get home. It's in that area.
It's very cold.
Mm.
It's very cold. And I think, and it's also like later in the year, it's supposed to be warmer, but I feel like the nights are still...
They're still frigid as hell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even talk about what you were wearing underneath that jockstrap skirt thing. I've never seen that before.
Oh, yeah. That was the debut for that night. So I had just gotten it. And I was like, you know what? I'll just wear it out. Let's see how it goes. And then you became such a big fan of it.
A very big fan of that. I've never seen that before. And I think the next day I literally Googled it and I was like, is this a thing? Or where do you even buy this? Because I've never seen it before. And I felt like as many events that I've been to, I would have seen it at least once. I never, ever have. But it looked good on you.
Thank you. I think it's a lot more popular now. So listeners, whoever you are, imagine like it's a jock strap and it's like a tiny, maybe 3 inches of length of skirt.
Mm-hmm.
Barely even goes around the ass.
Yeah, the top of the cheeks.
Exactly. A little, yeah. And it's hot. It is great and sexy and everything. My most recent ex had one and I was like, this is a really hot look. More this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a selling point for me also. I was like, this is like, I also never like familiar with anybody like wearing a skirt like that.
Really?
No, but it did something for me. I don't know what it was doing, but I think everything looks different on different people. Some people can pull it off and some people can't. It definitely worked on you.
Uh-huh.
But if somebody else is wearing it, I don't know if I would have responded the same way. Oftentimes I see people wearing certain things like a harness, or it could be certain jock strap, certain underwear, or whatever. Sometimes people just pick things that make them stand out so much, at least in my eyes, that I'm just like all about it.
Completely. And, it's definitely not a one size fits all kind of situation. I feel like there are definitely some people who put it on and like, yeah.
I mean, if you have no ass, you probably shouldn't wear that. It probably won't look like, because of the fabric, like over the top, it just won't give the same look.
It doesn't have the same oomph.
Yeah.
So I'm walking back out onto the street, and I think you clocked me first before I saw you, or like you said something.
Yeah. I said, oh, hey.
Yeah. And I looked over kind of somewhat startled because like, who the hell is talking to me at this hour? I was like, oh, hey, it's you. Did we even exchange names at that point? Did you know my name at that point?
No, I didn't know your name. And so, okay. I am a very straightforward person. I
Yeah.
had a good time with you. Like, I could have just went on my merry way and took my ass back to my hotel and went to sleep. But I was like, no, like, do you want to come to my room with me? I'm very forward. That's why I asked you earlier, like, are you somebody that normally approaches? Because for me, if I'm into you, you will know that I'm into you, because I'll make it a point to show that I'm interested. I might not necessarily say it, but I will definitely show it. And if somebody can't pick up on the cues, and I can see that they're not picking up on the cues, or if they're just not about it, then I will either say it and see what the response is, or just kind of fade away because they're not interested, which is totally fine. Rejection is a part of life. But with you, I was okay, had a good time, run into you on the street. I'm like, I may never see this person again.
Mm-hmm.
So I might as well. And I don't live in San Francisco, or I didn't at that point. I still don't. But it's like, yeah, this is probably not going to be a regular thing. I'm all about having good sex. And if the sex is good and like the person is cool, you gave me no indication that you were going to be an asshole, like a bitchy bottom, rude, disrespectful, pushy, none of the negative shit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you want to come back to our room? And you said yes.
Yes, I did. I was very excited. I think I giggled a little bit when I said yes.
I mean, what are the chances? Also, I feel like that was a fated thing. I believe in shit like that. Like, I literally went the wrong. Like, if I would have went the right way initially, I would not have ran into you on the street.
Completely. And I remember thinking, or like hovering at the door in like the alcove before you go into the club, being like, do I call an Uber, or do I just like go and try to catch the night owl back to my area? I waited just the right amount of time for us to bump into each other. Had it been like a minute or two later, we probably would have just passed each other or just missed each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Because at this point, we've already messed around a bunch of times. You are obviously a very sex positive person. Like, I am as well. I talk a lot of shit, but like most of the stuff that I talk is like more about morals rather than like sex. Like, I will never shit on somebody for having lots of sex. But I will shit on somebody for being a shitty person while they're having all that sex. So I guess my question for you is, at this particular point, like when we had ran into each other on the street and we had already hooked up a couple times, what was the reasoning? I mean, it was late at night. Like, you could Folsom the next day. I could kidnap you or take you into the room and steal your liver or something.
If it means I don't need to pay student loans anymore, sure. Take it.
What was the factor that made you interested in actually pursuing to do that at that particular time? Because it was so late at night. We had already hooked up before. You got something to do the next day. You could have easily said no. I wouldn't have taken offense to that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, he might say no, but I'm still gonna ask anyway.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of things. For one thing, the fact that we bumped into each other, and so that was like, ooh, stars aligning, fate, all this. I also believe it. There are forces outside of our mind nudging us along. So there was that. The fact that we had great chemistry, clearly, that we kept coming back to each other.
Mhm.
And when we would come back to each other, there was a level of excitement and hope and of like, again? Yeah? Okay. And you just throw me against the wall. I mean, am I wrong, Joe? Am I wrong?
No, you're very throwable. Like,
I am. That's why I like being my size.
I mean, size-wise, like, I'm a lot bigger than you, so I feel like I don't like to be assigned a role of a dom top, but when I feel like the chemistry is there and the person is receptive to being rubbed up a little bit, I will definitely do it.
Yeah.
And I also enjoy doing it.
Yes. And you roughed me up in a beautiful way that night, multiple times. But we'll get to the hotel bit in a moment. Well, I guess the last thing really is just like you asked. I think you were the first person in my life to ask me, like, hey, do you want to take this up to my hotel?
Ever?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because normally after those parties, I'm like, get me the fuck out of here, Uber me home and stuff. Or if I'm feeling really cheap, I'll try to get a friend that lives close to me to go with me. And that's just it. That's the end of the night. Maybe I'll order fast food. I usually order fast food as myself. But I'm usually done. Especially when I have like Folsom, a very sacred event I love to go to. Maybe it was also like summer. I don't got no kids. It's just Folsom tomorrow, and I would see my friends when I see them. It felt like there was a little bit of stars aligning, but also just like I'm excited to see where this goes. The fact that he asked me makes me excited to go with him.
I mean, look, I'm looking to tell anybody that's listening to this. I have a lot of friends who tell me they are afraid to approach or initiate any type of thing, like show interest, like sex or whatever it is. They're afraid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
By not doing that, you're literally blocking anything that could potentially come to you. And it took me a really long time to learn that. Yes, I might get rejected for whatever reason. Somebody might not like my body. Somebody might not like me because I'm Black. Somebody might not like me because, I don't know, their relationship situation and they're not allowed to hook up with yada, 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 or whatever it might be. It could be a mixture of whatever things.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you are somebody who is interested in someone and you have the ability to hook up with them, meaning you're not cheating on anybody, you're not fucking anybody over, whatever it is, I just encourage people to shoot their damn shot because you don't know what they're going to say.
Exactly. And I get it. Like, as somebody who is very introverted and socially anxious and have a hard time reading social cues, I totally get that. But like something that I've found in my own growth is like, yes, it is uncomfortable, but that's how I'm going to experience the most growth. That's how I'm going to keep practicing this skill. So like, yes, it will be uncomfortable, but lean into it. And like, for all you know, it can lead to something special, like being taken to somebody's hotel room at 2, 3 in the morning and then getting railed until I can't walk.
Yeah. You're fine.
You did not, as soon as he closed the door, I immediately like collapsed against the wall and had to like hold myself up for a sec while hobbling down to the lobby because I was like, I cannot miss this Uber.
Oh my God. That was funny.
Yeah.
When you're in those types of parties, there's only so much you can do because there's not a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like other people around you. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do? If there's a spot open on the bench, is somebody going to ride the other person? Or are they going to kneel on the bench and not do it from behind? Or what's the thing with the height difference? Can you do it standing up? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those parties are interesting in that way because you have to get creative sometimes. When you said that you were coming back to the room, I was like, oh, okay, there's a bed. Like, I can figure this situation out without having to deal with a bunch of people around me or deal with, you know, limited space and other fucking people's hot breath and whatever else.
People just getting in the way or inserting themselves into the situation, which can be hot.
Yeah.
But you got to read the room before you engage. You got to get a consensus from the people involved before you. People need to hold their fucking lessons.
Yeah. I mean, consent is a thing regardless.
Exactly. And I feel like people coming out of the pandemic and stuff are still learning this lesson in many iterations and stuff. So
I really think I should do an episode on consent at some point.
I'm surprised you haven't.
Yeah. I mean, I like at certain topics, like I try to get people to join me because I feel like it should be a conversation versus me giving my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain things like I'm like, okay, like I'm giving my opinion based on my experience. I always want to give my opinion based on some experience, so it doesn't sound like I'm talking out of just thin air.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to consent, I think examples are helpful. There's multiple people who want to have that conversation. We can talk about situations where the lines of consent either got blurry or somebody crossed that line,
Yeah.
because I think that happens a lot in our community, and it's not okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking of one particular from yesterday. I still enjoyed it. It's so fun. Just caught me by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we'll save that for the next.
All right, so we get back to the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and now I have you all to myself, and I'm very excited about that. And you have clothes on now, but I know the skirt's underneath.
You're waiting for the reveal.
I was excited about that. I'm like, oh yes. And I get to see it in actual light. The party is dark and has the club lights. You can't really see everything. Oh, I get to see it in actual light, not like loud music booming
Yeah.
in here and all that shit.
Do you remember you like touching it and you were like, you were just really appreciating it and everything. I was like, okay, I could just send her be a model. That's fine.
It gave me leverage too. You could grab onto it, and it was like not like cheap in a way that if I pull this, it might break.
Yeah. And if you did break it, I actually would have cried. I paid good money for that shit, Joe.
Yeah, I don't want to break people's statement pieces, you know?
Although tearing clothes in sex can be very hot.
Not when it's like that though, because I feel like that's something that you would wear on multiple special occasions. Like it's like there's an event happening, or or you're trying to like impress somebody and look sexy or whatever. If you rip that, like I'd try to be respectful.
And I appreciate that. And I thank you. And you're right. It has made many appearances. Like the Queen's crowns, I have different jock straps and different undies for different occasions, depending on the look and the vibe. And oh my God. Let's suppose we're gonna get your royalty. My underwears are my crowns. Jesus Christ.
There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has something that makes them feel good, you know?
Yes.
And there's I don't know if you watch, I'm so freaking nerdy, but I watch a lot of like DC and Marvel stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was crap, I forget. It's one of the animated Justice League movies.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's like giving Wonder Woman shit. And he's like, oh, you dress like a whore. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And then she threw the lasso. She's like, that's not your truth. He says he cross dresses in a Wonder Woman outfit because it makes him feel powerful.
Yeah.
And she says her outfit makes her feel powerful too. I feel like what you wear definitely can boost your confidence.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be for anybody else, but for you. Sometimes when I'm feeling really down, I'll put on a thong, honestly, something that I feel really sexy in. I'm like, instant perk up right there and stuff. And like, this is just for me. I'm not planning on showing anybody else or I'll hook up later. It's just for me and myself and for the mirror.
Show anybody else. I'm really big lately on performative shit, like where people do shit for attention. So you're not doing it for you. You're not wearing it for you. You're wearing it because you want attention from other people. And I think you will get attention from other people if you show a certain level of comfort and confidence in yourself, which you did. And that's why I was interested. You didn't seem overly shy. Like I feel like if somebody's way too shy, sex might not be that great. Like, okay, come on, loosen up a little bit, like literally and figuratively. You got to figure the situation out. But what you wear, and especially if you're stepping out into some social queer situation that makes you feel good, I think that's important.
Absolutely. And honestly, it can be a big confidence booster when you're going to the unknown, like one of these parties. It was one of the first big parties since the breakup, and it made me feel a lot more confident in myself in the way that, like, yeah, fuck the breakup, fuck everything, all that drama and all those emotions. I look great in this. And people are going to be so lucky to see me in this. And it's just, I don't know, I think that helps with the way you walk in and carry yourself into a room.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I think it definitely can flip a situation for sure, especially if you were unsure before, but then you put on something that makes you feel good, and then you go in confidently, then you can speak or move into a mental space of clarity.
Yeah.
Of like, this is who I'm actually attracted to versus I'm not feeling great about myself, so I'll just take whatever I can get.
Yeah. which is a different way of navigating a space altogether.
Mhm.
Uh,
So you mentioned that you were going through a breakup,
mhm.
and I have noticed that there are people like in the queer community who have their breakups and then they go to the parties like the one that we went to,
Yeah.
and then they meet someone and then they have a habit of mistaking sexual chemistry for romantic chemistry.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that the two can happen for sure.
Yeah.
But I also think that they can happen separately and it doesn't have to mean anything negative about that particular person. Like if I'm sexually attracted to you, but I'm not romantically attracted to you, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're less of a person or you
Yeah. Or it
offer.
doesn't diminish what this experience is bringing to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm curious, how do you navigate that, whether it's been back then or now? Has there been people who have hooked up with you and then they're like all of a sudden trying to date you immediately and maybe you didn't feel the same way?
Yeah. I've experienced the full range of this experience, honestly. I'm thinking back to when I was younger and very emotionally insecure, afraid to step into the scene, and latching on to the first person that would give me any sort of positive interaction or like any positive attention, even if it was insidious or negative in the end. That shows up in hooking up as well. In high school, coming out, I was initially like, I won't be that kind of gay, like, because I knew about queer as folk. That was the shit I jerked off to 7 p.m. at night with the sound off and like Bluetooth connected to the TV so that nobody could hear. So I knew that was out there. And I grew up in a very Catholic household.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm going to be gay, but I'm not going to be like that kind of gay. When I did start going out into it, I didn't really have the experience of like separate your lust reaction to like your emotional reaction.
Okay.
Or like, just because they're good for your whole doesn't mean they're good for your soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a lesson I had to learn many times. And it's been a hell of a journey, honestly. I personally believe that under the right circumstances, you can hook up with your friends and it won't be weird. And,
Mhm.
and I will say, if I do really feel strongly about hookup, I will, in the back of my mind, come up with fantasies and everything. Be like, huh, I wonder what we'll feel like if we dated. But now I've learned to like differentiate, be like, let's take out the rose-colored glasses real quick.
Mhm.
He sleeps on a mattress on the ground, which we've all been there. It's great.
That was literally me when I first moved to San Francisco. I didn't have a bed frame. I had a mattress on the floor.
Oh no, Joe, you were one of those.
Funny, I was 24. I was broke.
I guess I'm just saying it's happened, and I feel like it happens to a lot of us. It happens to the best of us, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, we're human. My whole thing is I don't want to ever dehumanize somebody because of sex.
Mhm.
So, like, at the end of the day, you're a person. If we're hooking up and if I'm trying to top you, like I mentioned before, if it's hurting you, I'm not going to force my way in or try to force you to take it when it's making you uncomfortable. If you say no, or if you're giving me social or nonverbal cues,
Mhm.
then I'm not going to force myself to continuously do that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if someone is attracted to me and they're like, oh, I want to get to know you more, I'm not going to like, if I'm interested, like, I'm not going to shut them down.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, like, no, this is just sex. Like, no, you're only good for like, I would never talk to somebody that way.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I think dating and sex are completely different things. The type of person I could have sex with is a lot more broad than the type of person I would date.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
person that I would date, you need to have a certain level of emotional maturity and things like that. Like,
Mhm.
I don't necessarily need you to have that same level of emotional maturity. There needs to be some, but I don't need you to have the same level as somebody that I would date in order for me to have sex with you.
I completely agree. And, I feel like some people focus so much on like, oh, there has to be that sexual chemistry and that like that will make up for all of these red flags that we see down the line and stuff. And it's so heartbreaking. It's so sad. Yeah, I understand.
It's a sad compromise that people make. That's my judgment. You don't have to settle one way or the other. Like, just like, it's kind of the same thing like at the party where it's like, okay, I'm not feeling great about myself, so I'm just going to accept whatever I can get versus like, do you actually feel connected to the situation? And I mean, sexually, like, I feel like it's easier to recognize. Like, I think dating and like more romantic chemistry does take a lot more time.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, I want to say the first time you and I engaged, I knew there was chemistry within the first couple of minutes.
Really?
Like, I could tell just by the way that we were engaging with each other. I was like, okay, this is going to be good because we're feeding off of each other's energy versus somebody trying to overpower the other one. It was like non-verbally trying to learn each other, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, there was that reciprocal back and forth. We were giving each other chances to explore our bodies, figure out our erogenous zones. Kissing for me is a really big one. If you're a bad kisser, I'm like, either take that shit down south or get away from
Well, if they're not a bad kisser, are they bad at other things with their mouth too?
me. I mean, that's why I take them down south to see. Like this, okay, you failed this test. Let's check out this other test. And, third time's either the charm or third strike, you're out kind of
Yeah.
deal. Like if you, I don't know. Joe, I have lots of stories. Okay.
Yeah. We live some lives.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm curious, like going back to talk about the parties a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, how often do you frequent that type of party? Is it often? Is it every now and then? How would you describe your desire to go back? Because it sounded like you're a little bit more introverted, like I am too, in that sense. So, I mean, granted, I was getting like claustrophobic and
Yeah.
sensory overload in there, but and that doesn't happen every single time. For me, I only go to them on special occasions, like a Folsom or a Dory
Yeah.
or a Pride or something like that. I know there's other people who go to them every single time.
Mhm. No, and
Yeah.
much love and respect for you, friend, but that is not for me. That is not my destiny.
Oh.
I go like usually when there's certain special events happening, like Pride, Dory, Folsom,
Mhm.
I don't know, holidays or something like that. For me, it boils down to like, do I have the bandwidth for it, and also do I have the money for it?
Mhm.
Like I mentioned earlier, friends, I'm an educator out here, and even though I work in a private school, I still don't get paid nearly enough as I should. And these parties are expensive as hell. Like what, 60, 70, $80 on the cheap side?
Yeah.
So it's a lot. And for these kinds of weekends, it's not just one party, it's like 6 parties you're going into. And not just at night, but in the day. And they gotta pay for the Ubers, you gotta pay for the food. It's so much.
Mhm.
And that for me, that like there is a part of me that would like to go, but knows financially not gonna happen.
Mhm.
So like pick and choose which parties you want to go to, and also the friends you're going with.
Mm.
Not everybody's going to the same events
Yeah.
and stuff. And when you had stuff like Pride, where there's so many different kinds of events, it can be fun to go off on your own, but it can also be fun to go with your group of friends. And I've experienced both. For me, after all of that, I still like to go to these parties. I just kind of space them out so that I'm not feeling so drained and exhausted for long periods of time. I take time to bounce back. And it's a little bit trial and error, too, I'm not gonna lie.
I take time to bounce back too. Some people say all these parties are the same. I don't necessarily think they are. I think it depends on the venue. For me, the venues are always the same,
Mm-hmm.
but the parties are not always the same. It just depends on which one you go to. I've been to a couple of them. You are the only person, let's say San Francisco, because it's, if there's other parties that I've gone to, like in other places, like
Mm-hmm.
in other states and things like that, I've kept in contact with people, but you were the only person that I had chemistry in a San Francisco party, even when I lived there, that I have kept in touch with.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh. And it's not just for the sordid memes I send you every single day.
No, like, you just seem like a really cool person.
Oh, thank
Even like, because I think it was the one-on-one time. So like when we went back to the hotel,
you. Mm-hmm.
we got to chat a little bit on the wall. It was on like maybe 2 blocks or something like that. And then in the room, and while doing other things, pushing you into a mattress and a wall and other things.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you just seem like a really chill, fun person. And I'm like, oh, I could see him as somebody that I chat with and becoming a friend. I like to humanize people. I don't want them to be just the whole, and if that's what somebody wants to be, that's totally fine. But for me, the way that I am as a person,
Mhm.
it's more appealing to me when I can see you as a full person versus just a drive-by for sex.
Absolutely.
And
It doesn't need to be weird. And I feel like part of the fun was also just getting to know each other. And so in between the fucking, when you let me breathe and just take my head up from the pillow.
I mean, you got me. I couldn't let opportunity pass me by. So yeah, yeah. When we go to these parties, I think with you, and I don't know if that has happened to you before. It's only happened to me maybe 2 other times
Mhm.
where I've gone back to the same person and repeated multiple times.
Mhm.
So for anybody that's trying to count, he snatched 5 loads out of me. So that was in a very short amount of time. I think there was probably a couple hours.
Yeah, like 3, 4 hours in total.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't meet you. I think I want to say I got to the party like 11:30 or almost midnight. It was almost 3 o'clock in the morning by the time that I saw you on the street.
And then I left around 4, I think.
Yeah, you stayed for like another hour. So like 3 in the club and then 2 in the hotel.
My pussy was wet, y'all. Well, I was clenching tight in that Uber ride home.
I mean, a good time was had by all. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
But I guess my question is, as far as revisiting, has that happened to you before where like you've gone to a event or a party like that where you've like met somebody that you vibe with and like
Mhm.
have, had multiple rounds with them? Or is that more of a unique situation? For me, it is more unique. There are a couple times that's happened, but for the most part, it's just one time and done. I don't get any contact information or anything
Mhm.
like that. That's not my preferred thing to do because even in my life outside of those events,
Mhm.
I do prefer to have sex with regulars because I have chemistry with them. The sex is better. We know each other's body, that kind of thing, versus going to look for a new random every single week. That's my preference.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I like having a roster too. Just like I know what I'm getting, or like we know each other very well. We can skip past the pleasantries and the awkwardness and get right down to being dick down. And I love that. I'm a very efficient person. I try to be a very efficient person.
The pussy is efficient.
The pussy is efficient. She has a timetable. She has things she needs to do and things she got to push. I always welcome it. If I see a person again, I'm usually very excited to see a person again because I actually really enjoyed the experience. It's kind of up to them to reciprocate. And sometimes it's a no, and that's great. That's totally fine. Thank you for the one load you did give me. If it's somebody that I played with before, that automatically makes me feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more safe. And I know that my chances of playing with them is probably higher because we already know each other and they know what this pussy can do.
Yeah.
Oh, like, yeah, again, it skips all that little chit chat, flirting, and stuff like that. Okay, not always 100% slam. Sometimes they're with their friends or they're with their boyfriend, and then I learned a lot about the dynamic. I wouldn't say it's a rarity. I would say it's more like it's uncommon. And it really depends on who shows up at these parties too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is like the crowd is very like the relations and the chemistry is very dependent on the crowd.
Yeah, completely. And something I've had to remind myself a couple of times, like, just because it's not now doesn't mean it's not later.
Hmm.
One less I had to learn, like, sometimes their boyfriend is there and, like, they have a rule of if they're together at a party, they stay exclusive to each other. That's great. That's beautiful. Love
Yeah.
that. I had to learn it's not always about me or I'm not the reason for the no kind of deal. Sometimes I am.
I mean, rejection's a part of life. It sounds like you handle it in a healthy way.
It's been a
And
journey.
recognizing sexual chemistry, I think from your own perspective, like I am sexually attracted to this person and we have chemistry
Hmm.
versus knowing, I think a part of that is also knowing when somebody is not sexually attracted to you or does not have chemistry with you,
Hmm.
which can be a little bit confusing sometimes. Like there have been situations where I am very much into somebody and I can tell that they're only going through the motions with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of when I back off because I'm just like, this is going to kill it for me. I cannot fully pursue the situation and enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
if I know that this person is only just going through the motions and basically using me as like an appetizer.
Yes. Or like, and I'm taking this to the next step of like racial connotations and stuff too. Like I know for sure experienced it, and like I definitely have as well.
Mhm.
Y'all, I'm Asian. In case you're not seeing this, you're listening to this. What am I saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, Joe, you and I, we experienced the sexual racism on so many different levels in so many different ways too.
Yeah.
And like for you, I gotta ask, like, when you clock that's like the whole reason this person's interacting with you, do you shut that down? Do you go along with it, or like what do you do in this situation?
I shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to get comfortable with doing that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, we did an episode on racial preferences, and then I did another episode on I forget what, but like in the racial preferences episode, I was talking about how I was probably like 18 or 19 years old, and I went over to this white guy's house, and me and him had hooked up before, but he had invited a bunch of black tops over, or what he deemed as black tops. There were two verse guys there, and then another. I'm a verse top. I wasn't bottoming at the time. I hadn't like moved into that point of my life yet. Anyway, so then the guys that were there, it was basically 4 black guys and 1 white dude, and the white dude was the only full bottom there. And that was the very first time in my life where I felt like I was being used racially for sex. And nobody really talked about it back then. I want to say 2007, 8, 9. Nobody really talked about it back then, but like now people are a lot more verbal about it. Other people could be verbal about it, but they just sweep it under the rug because they don't want to talk about it. And so now, as I'm older and I've seen it a lot, I can clock it based on how they're interacting with me.
Yeah.
Because I tend to fit into a lot of the stereotypes that they have, like for black dudes, like you're tall, like I'm a thicker, taller, strong dude. I think that when I feel that way, I don't want to engage with it because it makes me feel uncomfortable about myself. And I also feel like I'm replaceable. Like if they can't get me, they're just going to run to the next black guy.
Exactly. Growing up in Lily-White, Portland, as a young Asian coming onto the scene, the community had a box ready for me, a certain mold. If I tried to deviate away from it, I would lose opportunities for sex or connection. It came to a point where I just had to grin and bear it for the sake of meeting people. Coming to San Francisco, I'm like, oh, true diversity. Lovely to see it. And then I met incredible Kingsters who were Asian and dom and top and queer, who were so fully living their best lives. They became the new models for me, the new inspiration for me. Part of that was also talking with them about how do you navigate this as a Gaysian here in this very white saturated community. And I will be fully honest, there are times I will lean into it. I've gotten to a point where if I'm not feeling it, I will shut that down. Or I will step away because I know my self-worth. I do have flash sales. Sometimes the dick is just quality enough that I will allow a flash sale. But after that 24 hours, I'll return to my self-worth.
There needs to be a baseline for self-worth. It can't dip below a certain point. I can compromise and this is still within my range, but I don't need to be on my high horse all the time. And I also don't need to lower my standards to basement, like bargain basement sale.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Yes, it is a flash sale, but we're not in the bargain bin in the basement. We are placed out nicely with the mannequins.
Right. Like we got signage and it's not just like a pile of stuff.
The salespeople are putting us back together nicely.
But yeah.
This was.
Is there anything that you want to add or give anybody any tidbits about recognizing sexual chemistry and being okay with saying no or being okay with approaching?
Mm-hmm. Um, let's see. I will say that it is very subtle. This comes back to our heritage as a queer community where we had to be subtle to protect ourselves and still engage in our best authentic selves. There's nothing wrong with going up to a person and talking with them or complimenting them. That's usually how it starts with me, like complimenting a person about how they look or like, oh, you look so ripped or whatever, and then letting go flow from there. Really, that's kind of how it starts. Just a genuine, authentic compliment about somebody's look or how attractive they are or something like that. And just letting the conversation flowing from there, fully like being ready to accept a no if that's where it's going, but not outright anticipating a yes,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like being flexible enough. And there are plenty of other guys usually in these party settings where there will be more people for you to interact with. Know your self-worth. If you have flash sales, that's totally fine too. That's how a lot of these companies are surviving out here.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. And also just let yourself be open to building connections outside of all that. You know, sex is not the one big thing in the world, despite what pornography says or the media. We are truly whole, authentic beings. I don't know if Joe and I would have ever met outside of this setting. And look at us now, 2 or 3 years later, still have not reconnected, have not met in person, but we still text and talk to each other here almost every day.
Yeah. And we've tried, just like,
We have tried. It's not for trying.
yeah, things have happened, like the stars haven't aligned. I've been in SF a couple times where it's like, if the scheduling doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but we don't take it personally.
No. Yeah, we know life is busy. Life is crazy. It's not always about you. You're not always the reason why they say no. Like I said earlier, like there's so many other things, other reasons why they might say no. Listen to your gut. If you are engaging with somebody, your gut is there to protect you and make sure that you're safe. If something feels off for any reason, especially for our folks of color out there, get the hell out of there. Dick is not, no dick is that bomb.
No.
It's your own life and safety.
Right.
I'm a proponent of violence when it comes to our own safety. So, yeah.
I like what you said about it's not always about you. And I think when it is about another person and their quote unquote preferences, that's also not your business. So if they say no, again, take the rejection for what it is. It's a part of life. It sucks, but move on. There's plenty of other people who will be interested in you that you will have better chemistry with. And you can have a good, fun adult time too.
Completely. And honestly, if that is how they're dictating their life, they're not worth their time anyways. That's not the kind of person you need to surround yourself with. Especially we're thinking about like hookups emerging to friendships or connections. You don't need to have people in your life like that. And so there's so many other more quality people out there who don't dictate their dating or sex life by these quote unquote preferences.
Right. Agreed.
I
think that's it.
I think that's it.
Thank you for joining me and sharing your insights on this. I think a lot of people could find value in not taking things personally, but also like engaging. And I hope somebody finds some type of value in learning about an experience where this has happened.
And thank you for even bringing me on or asking me to be a part of this show. I really appreciate it. This is my first podcast, my first guest experience.
A lot of the people, it's been their first time, so I think you did good. And there's other people that they've been nervous, so I don't know.
I thought I was a little nervous. I definitely got rambly, but that's also just me being me. And today's sponsor comes from...
Oh God! All right, we'll get there. We'll get there.
You'll get there.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you for joining us today and hanging out. If you took anything from this conversation, let it be to trust your body, trust your instincts, and know that sexual chemistry is something that can't be forced. Be able to shoot your shot with confidence. Rejection is a part of life. Don't let it get you down. So people have stupid reasons for rejecting people. That's not your problem. That's theirs. It's okay to say yes to a good time. It's also okay to say no. And it's always okay to prioritize your safety and your joy over everything. So please remember that. Until next time, stay unapologetically you, and I will catch you on the next episode. Bye.